Every time you speak, you are being judged. Someone is making a decision. Is this a person I can trust or someone I'll tune out of? The world is more connected than ever, yet people are getting worse and worse at communication. We hide behind emojis, we text instead of talking, and even a simple phone call feels awkward now. But here's the truth. The world doesn't belong to the smartest person in the room. It belongs to the one that can be understood. Communication isn't just a professional skill. It's how we connect, inspire, influence, and yet most people never learn how to speak so that others truly want to listen. So let me show you 5 habits that are quietly stealing your impact the moment you open your mouth, and the replacements that actually work. Number 1 is stop speaking too soon. I used to believe that being a great communicator meant always knowing what to say, always jumping in, proving that you have all the ideas. But I was the opposite. In meetings, I barely talked, only when I was really sure that I have something valuable to contribute. And I didn't talk for multiple reasons. Firstly, I wasn't sure if that was important enough to be said, which meant that I was not important enough. And secondly, I was just nervous to talk without preparation. So I kept quiet and was frustrated. I just sit there and jealously watch the talkers. The ones who, when they open their mouth, everybody is hanging on their lips. Other people discuss their ideas and engage with them. And if I summoned up the courage to say something, silence. Nobody asked questions, nobody added anything, just quiet. And then the discussion continued. And I remember thinking, did I just say something stupid? Why are they ignoring me? And then one night, after a business meetup, I asked a friend, hey, I wanted to ask something. I just noticed when everybody shares their ideas, there's always a discussion. But when I add something, nobody talks about it. Do I sound unclear or is it awkward? Marty, it's actually the opposite. You don't talk much. But when you contribute, what you say is solid. It's clear, it makes sense, so people don't need to add anything. Oh, that's when it clicked. I just assumed being quiet makes you weak, but it didn't. It made my words matter. Being strategically quiet can actually become your competitive advantage, because when you choose to contribute, people will know it's valuable. Authority isn't about how talkative you are, it's about the impact your words have. So here's a simple habit. The next time you're in a meeting, don't force yourself to speak. Wait until 3 people have spoken and then deliver one clear, useful insight. Speaking less doesn't mean you have less to say. It means that you can say more with less. And I know what you're thinking now. Marty, I have the perfect words in my head, but when I open my mouth, they come out all jumbled and half is missing, the rest is messy. I just can't articulate my thoughts in the moment. And that's number 2, stop improvising when you speak. Here's the thing, if you just blurt out whatever's in your head, people notice. You speak too fast and without structure, and they will think you are uncertain and nervous. Their brain will just shut off if there is no clear point. Most people think great speakers are talented, but they aren't. They have trained themselves to structure their thoughts before they open their mouth. That's what makes them sound confident. That is what makes people want to listen. And I know how hard it is to think logically on the spot. So here is where the 3-2-1 framework can help. When someone asks you something, say one of these. There are 3 steps to what you just asked me. There are 2 types to what you just asked me. Here is the one thing about what you just asked me. It sounds simple, but it transforms the way people hear you. Let me give you an example. Your boss says, "Welcome back, Marty. How was your holiday in Vietnam?" Yeah, it was really awesome. The nature was so beautiful. We went everywhere by scooter, and the cities were kind of crowded and loud and scooters everywhere, but the people were so versus, hey Marty, welcome back. How was your holiday in Vietnam? The one thing that surprised me the most were the Vietnamese people. If there is a problem, they will fix it immediately. One time I couldn't close the window to my bedroom, so I texted my host, and 5 minutes later, she was there with a wrench in her hand and climbed onto the table and just fixed it herself. Boom. One clear point. Sharing ideas in such a way is memorable and leaves an impact. And if remembering 3, 2, 1 is too much, just focus on sharing the one thing. You don't need to create a full debate with pros and cons. Just sharing one meaningful point is enough. And here's a little trick that I use in meetings. When I have an idea, I subtly hold 3, 2, or 1 finger below the desk so that when it's my turn, I have the structure in my mind and just have to share what I want to say. Number 3 is don't wait for your space to talk, but raise your hand and take it. Here's what usually happens to quiet people. You want to contribute. You have something valuable to say, but every time you try to talk, someone just talks over you and you don't want to be as rude as them and interrupt them as well. So you stay quiet and feel frustrated and maybe even embarrassed. Sounds too familiar? Because I've been there too when I was an employee. I remember those dreadful Monday meetings where everybody had to participate and they were discussing the state of affairs, some problems, and I also had a solution, an idea to contribute. But every time I tried to say something, someone else took the stage and had their performance, so I just kept quiet. And then in a performance review, I was told, Marty, you're too quiet, you should contribute more. Duh, how? So here's the thing, waiting for your gap to talk rarely works. And people who are not naturally quiet might just say, talk after you've been interrupted. But that is so hard. What I started doing, and yes, it might feel a little odd at first, while the other person is speaking, I raise my hand and wait. Not like all the time and aggressively, but if someone dominates the whole conversation and leaves no room. Because think about it, we all learned it in school. Raise your hand when you want to talk. And when you do that gesture, one of 2 things happens. Either the talker who interrupted or ignored you pauses and maybe even loses their train of thought, and then you have space to talk. Or if the person is more confident and aware, they see your intention and respect it. You don't interrupt them, they finish their sentence, and then you get to talk. So the next time, in person or in Zoom meetings, don't hope and wait for a gap. Raise your hand and wait. It does take courage, but I guarantee that it will work. Number 4 is stop filling the silence. People won't tell you this, but they notice every time you feel uncomfortable in silence. So when you just rush to fill it and say anything, you will lose presence. And only real presence leaves impact, period. Most people can't handle silence. They will just talk the whole time to avoid it. But that is why silence is so powerful, because it reveals who is comfortable in their skin. I remember one psychotherapy lesson where I was at a loss as to what I should address. I'm sorry, but I don't know what I should talk about today. That's okay. I don't mind silence. Sometimes that is where the real thoughts come up. So I sat there on this chair in silence for what felt forever. But she was right. After a while, this silence pulled something important out of me. And I realized that the discomfort was just in my head. That day, I learned that silence isn't empty or awkward. It is actually space. Space for truth, space for depth. And it's the same for all conversations. When somebody finishes speaking, don't rush to say something, but count to 3 in your head. That pause creates gravity. They will feel heard, and maybe they will even reveal something that they didn't plan to. And if you struggle with this, try this simple anchor. slightly bite the tip of your tongue and count to 3 before you respond. This small pain keeps you grounded and is your signal to slow down. That little habit helps in all kinds of situations, especially when you want to appear calm and influential. For example, in a job interview, when the recruiter starts digging deeper to trigger who you really are, you bite on your tongue, count to 3, and then answer. You replace reaction with reflection. Great communicators don't avoid the silence, they marinate their message in it. And number 5 is stop ignoring your instrument. Most people work only on their visual image, how they dress, their body, their hair. But the moment you open your mouth, your vocal image takes over. Your voice. And this is even more important than the visual image, because the moment you open your mouth, people will turn their assumptions about you into beliefs, positive or negative, and that is the version of you they will keep in their mind. It's the difference between someone thinking, wow, they are confident and trustworthy, or they're kind of insecure and weak. And it all happens within seconds. And yet most people never even listen to themselves. They have no idea what their voice communicates. The energy, clarity, tonality, the pace. If it is important to you, a job interview, a marriage proposal, asking for a raise, you owe it to yourself to look at your instrument. Let me give an example. One client of mine was a movie art director with over 20 years of experience. She was brilliant at her craft. And she got many job interviews, but never received an offer. So we did a mock interview, and when we listened to that, she went pale. Oh my God, that's how I sound. I sound so whiny, so desperate. She thought she was coming across as confident and elaborate, but her voice told a different story. One of frustration, of money worries, of neediness. And I've seen it over and over again, no matter the age, the gender, the position. When the voice tells a different story than the words, people won't believe you. Authority isn't what you say, it's what people hear. It's uncomfortable in the beginning, yes, but you owe it to yourself to give you that feedback. It's like looking in the mirror before you leave the house. When was the last time you looked into the communication mirror? So here's a powerful exercise that I learned from my speaking coach, Vin Jian. Record and review. Record yourself talking for 3 minutes about anything and then review it in 3 ways. Auditory, turn the volume up and put the phone down and just listen. How do you sound? Then visual, mute the sound and just look at your body, your posture, your gestures, your face. And third, text. Don't listen, don't look, but get your words transcribed and highlight all the non-words and filler words as like, actually, and then choose one thing you want to work at for the next week. Rinse and repeat, because in the end, impactful communication isn't about performing perfectly, but it's about integrity and impact. When your words, your body, and your voice tell the same story, then people trust you. And also in conversations, you want to leave people better than you found them. But when your voice is kind of whiny or really pushy, or you just don't understand what you're talking about, that projects onto the listener and leaves them either indifferent to your message or even worse. So what you have to do is replace vocal ignorance and, but I hate my voice, it sounds so strange, with vocal self-awareness and voice training. Because in the end, it's not about saying more, it's about being understood. That is what people remember. That is what makes them trust you. And if you have the feeling that others don't really take you seriously at all, I will link you a video where you will learn how to become a respectable person.